This case is still under investigation. Not everything in this video has been officially confirmed. We'll flag those moments as they come up. 10 days before it happened, she posted a video of herself laughing with her husband. 3 days before it happened, she took her 8-year-old daughter dress shopping for her sister's wedding. She posted about it. She called it the sweetest mom-daughter time. The night before it happened, multiple friends spoke to her by phone. She sounded completely fine. She was talking. She was planning. She was being herself. And on a Monday evening in May 2026, Houston police walked through the front door of a $1.2 million home in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in the entire city. What they found inside that house was something that nobody, not one single person who knew this family, had any reason to expect. There is a question at the center of this story that investigators are still working to answer, question that may never be fully resolved, and it is the most important question in this case. Stay with me. I want to ask you something before we go anywhere in this story. What would it take for you to see it coming? Think about that seriously. What would someone have to say, or do, or post for you to look at a family and say, something is deeply wrong here? A public argument? A police report? A change in behavior that someone close to them could put their finger on and name? Because I need you to understand this right now, before we go anywhere else. In the case of the Mitchell family, there was none of that. Not one documented incident. Not one prior police call to the home. Not one legal filing in Harris County courts. Not one restraining order. Not one person who spoke to the Mitchell on the Sunday night before everything ended and walked away thinking anything was wrong. Nothing. This is the story of Vi Mitchell. 39 years old. Houston restaurateur. Mother. Wife. First-generation Vietnamese American who built a restaurant empire from the ground up and was named Restaurateur of the Year just weeks before she died. This is also the story of what happened on the evening of May 4, 2026, inside a home in River Oaks, Houston, and of the question that may never be fully answered no matter how long the investigation runs. In this video we cover everything: who Vi Mitchell was and why the people who loved her describe her in terms that almost don't feel real. What Matthew Mitchell built and what he kept entirely hidden. The 10-day timeline from a laughing Instagram video to 4 people gone. The financial picture that gives context but not answers. The unverified allegation that investigators are still working through. The babysitter whose instinct ended the silence. The staff that showed up to work the next morning because that is what they had built. And the question, the one that this case keeps returning to no matter how many angles you examine it from. Watch every minute. Because this story demands to be heard in full. Subscribe right now and hit the bell so you never miss a story that deserves this level of attention. Drop a comment and tell us, where in the world are you watching from? And join our community through the link in the description box below. We read every single one. I have researched and covered a number of cases on this channel. And very rarely do I sit down to research a victim and find someone who, by every single account, from every single person who knew her, was exactly who she appeared to be. Warm. Present. Generous. The first person to show up for someone else and the last person to make anything about herself. Those words come out of the mouths of her friends, her colleagues. People in the Houston restaurant community before they even have time to think, because that was who they actually was. Not a performance. Not a public persona. Just her. Vi Mitchell was 39 years old. Born in Chicago. Raised in Houston as a first-generation Vietnamese American. She spent her childhood weekends working at her grandmother and mother's small traditional Vietnamese restaurant, not as a backdrop, not as a memory, but as the foundation of everything she would build. She earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Houston. Then her master's in Human Resources and Employment Relations from Penn State. She held HR leadership roles at 3 Fortune 500 companies in the hospitality and retail industries. And then she and her husband walked away from all of that to build something entirely their own. She was a board member of the Texas Restaurant Association's Greater Houston chapter. She owned a women's fashion brand called Foreign Fair, travel-inspired clothing. Wrinkle-resistant. Easy to pack. Stylish but practical. That was Diana's sentence. Elevated, but never out of reach. And then there was her Instagram. I need you to understand why that matters to this story. Not as background color. Not as social media context. As evidence. Going back years, I had been documenting her life in real time. Travel content from Japan, Vietnam, Mali, Taiwan, Jamaica, Mexico, Spain, France. Family moments with her children. Business milestones. Anniversary posts. Funny videos with Matthew. A full, breathing archive of a woman who loved her life and was not afraid to show it. It was not a brand exercise. It was not a highlight reel. It was documentation. Evidence of a woman who was present in her own life in a way that very few people managed to be. Just 3 days before she died, I posted a video. She and her 8-year-old daughter Maya had spent the afternoon picking out dresses for Di's sister's upcoming wedding in Boston. They stopped for lunch at a cafe. She tagged it in the post. She wrote, "Maya picked her dress and made sure I was set too." The sweetest mom-daughter time. That was a Thursday. Then Sunday came. Then Monday. Then the babysitter called. I am going to come back to that babysitter because that moment matters more than people realize. Now let me tell you about Matthew Mitchell. And I want to be careful here because this is where the story gets complicated in a way that demands precision. Matthew Mitchell was 52 years old. His resume reads like something constructed for a novel. Bachelor's degree from Emory University. Studied in France, Italy, and at Oxford. Worked as a journalist and writer in London, Paris, and New York. Returned to Texas, attended Rice University's Jesse H. Jones School of Management, entered the pharmaceutical industry, and eventually became president and CEO of the Texas Center for Drug Development. Emory, Oxford, London, Paris, pharmaceutical CEO. And then he enrolled in culinary school. After more than 14 years in pharmaceuticals, Matthew enrolled at the Art Institute of Houston, earned an associate's degree in culinary arts, worked in Houston restaurants, and then opened Traveler's Table with I in 2019. Here is the detail I need you to hold on to, because it becomes important later. Matthew had zero social media. Not a small presence. Not a private account. Zero. In a world where everyone documents everything, Matthew Mitchell kept his entire inner life entirely offline. I had joked about this publicly. She wrote that when they first met, she was convinced he was either a con artist or a married man living a double life, because who has no social media in 2010? But no. Just a man who preferred books and newspapers. Their first unofficial date. 2 a.m. at a place called House of Pies. Their first official date, Backstreet Cafe. But the moment that truly won me over, Matthew showing up to a large Vietnamese family gathering and going all in on her favorite food without a single moment of hesitation. Not a flicker of awkwardness. Fully present. Fully in. They married by the sea in Porto de Andrea. A decade later, they celebrated their anniversary in essay kits. She wrote publicly that a decade in, it still felt like the beginning. 10 days before she died. She posted a video on Instagram laughing with Matthew about growing old together. She wrote that he thought they would grow old together. And she added, with characteristic dry humor, that she was Asian and didn't have the heart to correct him. Hundreds of people commented. People laughed with her. That is the last documented public moment of Vi and Matthew together, laughing. You need to understand the scale of what this couple built. Because without that, you cannot fully grasp the weight of what was lost. Traveler's Table. Houston's Montrose neighborhood. Not just a restaurant, a destination.
Hey guys, it's T. Mitchell from Traveler's Cart, and we just wanted to give a huge thank you to Rice University for always supporting local Houston restaurants. Today, Morgan and I are delivering a big catering order to the university. Let us take you behind the scenes.
The menu was built from their actual travels around the world. You could taste the research. Dishes from Australia, Japan, Korea, Nigeria, all under one roof. Indian butter chicken. Nigerian suya skewers. Mini New England lobster rolls. The kind of menu that tells you the people who made it have actually been to those places. In 2021, Guy Fieri showed up. Traveler's Table was featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. National exposure that changes everything for a restaurant. In 2023, one of their chefs competed on Beat Bobby Flay. And won. In July 2025, another Traveler's Cart chef appeared on Guy's Grocery Games. By 2025, Yelp ranked Traveler's Table number 2 on their list of the top places to eat in all of Houston. Number 2. In one of the most competitive food cities in America. They did not stop there. In October 2024, they opened Traveler's Cart, a second location at 1401 Montrose Boulevard. 2 restaurants, a fashion line, a hospitality umbrella they call Travelers Collective. And in 2025, the Greater Houston chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association named them Restaurateurs of the Year. Just the week before this tragedy, I had hosted the Houston Restaurant Association board meeting at her restaurant. Craig Howard, president of the Greater Houston chapter, said 50 restaurateurs showed up. He said, "Great operation, wonderful staff, great food." That was days before everything ended. These were not people in visible crisis. These were not people anyone was worried about. These were people at the top of what they had built, still building, still planning, still showing up. If this story is affecting you, you are not alone. Subscribe so you never miss coverage like this. And join our community through the link in the description box below. Monday, May 4th, 2026. The babysitter and nice sister Lemai had not heard from the Mitchell family since Sunday night. By all accounts, Sunday had been completely normal. Multiple friends confirmed they had spoken to Thai that evening. Nothing seemed off. She was talking. She was planning. She was being Nye. But then the silence stretched, from Sunday night through all of Monday. And the babysitter's instinct told her something that no documentation, no prior incident, no articulable reason could tell her. This family does not go dark. That was enough. She and nice sister contacted Houston police and requested a welfare check at the family home on Kingston Street near Avalon Place in River Oaks. Around 5:30 in the evening, HPD officers arrived at the home. And this is where things take a dark turn. I need you to hear what follows plainly, without rush, without gloss. Inside that home on Kingston Street, Houston police found 4 members of the Mitchell family. Matthew Mitchell, 52 years old, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Vi Mitchell, 39 years old, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Reported by multiple sourced outlets, though not yet officially confirmed by HPD, to have been pregnant at the time of her death. Maya Mitchell, 8 years old. Maxwell Mitchell, 4 years old. Both children dead from gunshot wounds to the head. Both children were found in their beds. I want you to sit with that for a moment. In their beds. The place where a child trusts completely that they are safe. The place where every parent tucks their child in and says goodnight. That is where Maya and Maxwell were found. Houston police, confirmed by NBC News, ABC 13, Fox 26, and recorded in the official Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences records, have named Matthew Mitchell as the suspect in the fatal shootings of his wife and both children before turning the gun on himself. The official time of the children's deaths, as recorded by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, 6:11 in the evening on that Monday. At that same hour, on that same Monday evening, Matthew's friends were at a dinner table waiting for him. He had dinner plans. he never showed. Let me be precise about what is confirmed and what is not. Because this is where the story demands absolute clarity. What is officially confirmed? No prior police calls to the home. 0. In the 6 months before May 4, 2026, not one documented incident at that Kingston Street address. Not one complaint. Not one call for help. Not one record of any kind in any law enforcement database that signaled danger for this family. 0 legal filings of any kind in Harris County courts. No restraining orders. No domestic violence reports. No civil disputes. Nothing. No motive has been officially released. No note has been confirmed publicly. No explanation has been offered by investigators. HPD's Homicide Division is still actively working this case. Now, the financial picture. Because it has come up, and it deserves to be addressed directly. The opening of Traveler's Card in October 2024 involved a $2.35 million funding round, which is also $2.35 million in debt. Rising labor costs, food costs, insurance, rent. Running restaurants in 2025 and 2026 has been genuinely brutal for owners across the country. And people in the Houston food community have acknowledged that context. But here is what a restaurant editor who knew the Mitchells closely said directly to reporters. There is no indication those financial pressures played a role here. That is a person with inside knowledge of both the industry and this couple being deliberate in separating the financial backdrop from any confirmed cause. And investigators have not pointed to financial collapse as a known or confirmed trigger. But that's not even the most disturbing part of this picture. There is one more thread in this case. And I need to be very precise about how I frame it. It has been alleged by unnamed sources, not confirmed by HPD, not confirmed by the family, not in any official record, that in the period before the killings, Matthew had been experiencing paranoia. What form it took? What triggered it? What the people around him witnessed or did not witness? None of that is in any public official record. It sits in this case as one unverified thread in a picture that has not yet been fully drawn. What happened next shocked everyone who thought they knew this man. Stanton Bundy, the former head chef of Traveler's Table, the man who appeared on Beat Bobby Flay in one, told reporters that he had only ever seen Matthew and Nye in a minor disagreement. That he considered Matthew a great friend. That after learning what happened, he was questioning everything he thought he knew. That is not a man who was warning people. That is a man whose closest professional colleague called him a great friend right up until the end. A close friend of the family wrote something after the tragedy. She wrote, "Matthew, there are no words for the weight you must have carried. This kind of pain does not make sense, and that is what breaks me. Love was there. And still it was not enough. I want to be very clear, that is not an excuse. Nothing excuses what Matthew Mitchell did to Maya, to Maxwell, to a baby that never had the chance to exist outside its mother's body. Nothing. But it is the most honest acknowledgement anyone has offered publicly about what may have been happening inside him in those final days, that whatever he was carrying, whatever had built to a catastrophic breaking point, it was completely invisible to everyone around him. It did not show up in his behavior. It did not register in any conversation anyone has reported. It did not surface in Nice Instagram, which documented their life with warmth and humor right up until 10 days before the end. The weight was there. Nobody saw it. And that is the disturbing truth that this case keeps returning to no matter how many angles you examine it from. Let me walk you through the verified timeline of the final days. Because I think it matters to hold it all in one place. April 24, 2026. 10 days before the family was found. I posts a video on Instagram with Matthew in the frame, joking about aging together. She writes that he thinks they will grow old together and that she did not have the heart to correct him. Hundreds of people comment. People laugh with her. That is the last documented public moment of Vi and Matthew together. 3 days before the family was found. Thy posts the afternoon with Maya. The dress shopping. The cafe. The sweetest mom-daughter time. She mentions her sister's upcoming wedding in Boston. She is planning. She is looking forward. Sunday, May 3rd. The night before the family was found. Multiple friends confirm they spoke to thy that evening. Everything sounded completely normal. No distress, no unusual tone. No indication of anything wrong. She was present. She was talking. She was being nigh. At some point that same Sunday evening, the Mitchell family went silent. Monday, May 4th. The silence holds all day. The babysitter and thy sister Lemai cannot reach the family. The babysitter's familiarity with this family, her knowledge of their patterns, their rhythms, tells her the silence is wrong. She makes the call. Around 5:30 in the evening, HPD arrives. At 6:11, the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences records the deaths of the children. At that same moment, Matthew's friends are sitting at a dinner table, waiting for him. That is the timeline. From a laughing Instagram video on April 24th to 4 people gone on May 4th. 10 days. And in all of those 10 days, by every confirmed account, nothing reached the outside world. We are almost at the end of this story. Stay with me. Subscribe so you never miss coverage that takes these lives seriously, and join our community through the link in the description. The morning after the Mitchell family was found, the staff of Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart showed up for work. Let that land for a moment. The people that Thy and Matthew had hired, trained, nurtured, promoted from within the people this couple had poured themselves into for years, they showed up. They clocked in. They opened the doors. They kept serving Houston. Because that is what the Mitchells had built. Not just restaurants, a place where people show up for each other. Traveler's Table released a statement. As Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart remain open for business, we want to thank our loyal staff who have shown up and worked through these difficult circumstances, ensuring that we continue to serve our community. Hospitality comes from within. And to honor the Traveler's legacy, we will continue to welcome you into our restaurants. The Traveler's Legacy. That is what they called it. Craig Howard, president of the Houston chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association. We saw such a bright star with Thy that we asked her to serve on our board. We knew she would inject some new ideas. It looked like this was a successful power couple doing this together. Emily Williams Knight, president and CEO of the Texas Restaurant Association. We will remember Thy as a ray of light who inspired everyone around her. And Thy sister Lemai posted on Facebook. A sister announcing the deaths of her sister and 2 nieces and a nephew in a Facebook post. Without mentioning the circumstances. Without naming the man responsible. Because that is the weight this family is now carrying. In front of the home on Kingston Street, a memorial began growing. Flowers. Photos. Small tributes from people who had eaten at Thy's tables and felt like they mattered just by being in the same room as her. I want to zoom out now. Because this case tells us something that goes beyond the Mitchell family. Something we need to hear. The absence of documentation is not safety. No police calls to a home does not mean that home is safe. No restraining orders does not mean a relationship is healthy. No red flags in any public record does not mean a person is okay. We have built systems, legal, social, communal, that rely heavily on documentation as evidence of reality. If it is not written down, it did not happen. If it was not reported, it was not serious. The Mitchell case is a direct, devastating rebuttal to that assumption. 0 prior police calls. 0 legal filings. 0 documented warning signs. Invisible crises are the most dangerous ones. Whatever Matthew Mitchell was carrying in those final days, whether it was financial pressure, paranoia, a mental health break, some combination of all 3, or something we have no name for, Yet, it was entirely invisible to the people around him. His friends saw a man with dinner plans. Vice friends heard a woman who sounded completely fine. His colleagues saw a restaurant owner building World Cup menus just weeks before it happened. Nobody had anything concrete to grab onto. That is not a failure of the people who loved this family. That is the nature of invisible crisis. It does not announce itself. It builds behind a closed door. In the silence between one Instagram post and the next. And then, the babysitter. She did not have a specific articulable reason to call. She could not point to a prior incident, a stated threat, a named behavior. She had familiarity. She had the knowledge built through time with this family that their silence was not normal. And she acted on it. That call did not save the family. The tragedy had already happened before she dialed. But it ended the not knowing. It brought the world in. When something does not feel right, when the silence is too long, when the gut says something is wrong, that instinct is worth acting on. Every time. Without waiting for a reason that is documented or officially recognized. When something is wrong, you call. I want it end not with the investigation, not with the unanswered questions, not with the analysis. I want to end with who they were. Vi Mitchell. 39 years old. Born in Chicago, raised in Houston. A first-generation Vietnamese American who spent her childhood weekends in her grandmother's restaurant and grew up to build a restaurant empire of her own. A master's degree holder. A Fortune 500 executive. A restaurateur, a fashion designer, a board member. A mother who spent an afternoon with her daughter picking out dresses for a wedding and posted about it because she loved her life. And was not afraid to show that love. A woman who was, by every credible account, exactly who she appeared to be. Maya Mitchell. 8 years old. Born 2018. She attended River Oaks Elementary School. She spent an afternoon helping her mom pick a dress. She rated the day a 10 out of 10. Maxwell Mitchell. 4 years old. Born 2021. He was found in his bed. And I was pregnant. That sentence, love was there and still it was not enough, is the heaviest thing in this entire story. Because the love was real. Vice Instagram makes that undeniable. A decade of marriage. Anniversary trips. Birthday tributes. A laughing video 10 days before the end. The love existed. And still, whatever broke inside Matthew Mitchell in those final days, whatever invisible weight finally became unbearable, led him to do the unthinkable inside a home in River Oaks on a Monday evening and took everything with it. That is not an excuse. It is not a justification. It is the most honest accounting of something that may never be fully explained. The staff is still showing up. The doors are still open. The traveler's legacy is being honored every day by the people this couple poured themselves into for years. And on Kingston Street, the memorial keeps growing. Flowers and photos from people who sat at these tables and felt seen just by being there. Rest in peace, Vi Mitchell. Rest in peace, Maya. Rest in peace, Maxwell. May the traveler's legacy live on in every meal served, every staff member lifted up, and every table where people gather to celebrate something worth celebrating. Mental health and crisis resources. If you or someone you know is struggling, if the weight feels too heavy to carry alone, please reach out. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, call or text 988, free, confidential, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, free, confidential support available 24/7. If this story moved you, you already know what to do. Subscribe and hit the bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Every view on a story like this is a vote for coverage that takes these lives seriously. Join our community, the link is in the description box below. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Stay safe out there.